So, guys, Star Trek, it's always been there for me. It sort of stalks me, and you're always closing in on me, Star Trek. You track me like a hyperactive Klingon warrior on a never-ending intergalactic hunt. It's really true. Star Trek has followed me in some way since I was a toddler, a little tyke. I can recall watching Gene Roddenberry's amazing Starship of the Imagination at only 4 years of age. It's always been there for me, guys. Like, it inspires me with the tales of our noble USS Enterprise, first with Captain Kirk, later with Captain Picard. It's always been there and a big part of my life from the very beginning that I can remember. So ultimately, I thought the only way to pay such incredible devotion back was to actually write for the show. Now, the stalked would stalk back. In 1993, I sold my first Hollywood script to Paramount Pictures. I had never written anything before, very first sale. It was a teleplay for Star Trek Next Generation. It was entitled Shadow Dance, and it became the seventh season episode. Homeward, guest starring Paul Sorvino of Goodfellas fame. Paul was a big Star Trek fan, I learned out later. Now, he played a Starfleet mission specialist, Nikolai Rozhenko, the human foster brother to the Klingon Worf, chief of security on Captain Jean-Luc Picard's Enterprise 1701D. So the sale was made, celebration, right? Contract was signed, my episode was produced, and it aired. But I was still attending college, first year freshman. So during my class schedule, I started work on another TNG teleplay. This one wouldn't sell, but I figured, I'd share it with you guys because what never was sometimes can be almost as interesting as what we got, right? So here comes the next generation, for me anyway. So I successfully wrote for TNG, right? So what happens next? Could I enlist in Starfleet itself? Why not? I kept planning and thinking what would be next for me with writing in Hollywood. Well, Star Trek The Next Generation was ending. It was over, its syndication run was ending soon. So had become one of the most watched and successful syndicated shows in TV history. The seventh season would be its final television warp. So I had to hustle, gear up, and finish my script and to submit it in a timely fashion. So I still, despite trying my best to get one, I didn't have an agent. They're hard. Getting an agent is hard, trust me. So if you want representation in Hollywood, it's not only hard, but of course it's essential really to getting your work discovered. Once again, I went through the spec script submission process, but this time the Star Trek producers knew me. You see, executive producer Michael Piller had essentially opened up Star Trek to welcome new writers without an agent. The catch? You could only submit 2 scripts, but then if you sold, as I've done, the cap was taken off and you could submit as many scripts as you liked as until the cows came home. You could keep on sending. So, Crusher crushes it. Now, I like Beverly Crusher, played by Gates McFadden, but she's always seemed to be overlooked compared to Picard's other Starfleet minions. Right? She's a chief medical officer. She has had her share of adventures, but when the focus is too often, say, on the psychic empowered Chancellor Troy, played by the great Marina Sirtis, it's not really about Crusher most of the time, many of the time. So I figured, let me put Crusher, front and center. My story revolved around a super athlete. He'd be sort of like the swimmer Michael Phillips, an aquatic star, maybe a bit of Mary Lou Retton, a gymnast, and have the combined pugilistic powerhouse strength of a Muhammad Ali or Mike Tyson. The aliens, the guest, aliens of the week, would be called the Nemeans. And that was in honor of the ancient Greek games held in the city of Nemea, similar to the Olympics. So these aliens could basically acquire any physical skill, no matter how demanding, within a few minutes or so, just by watching a pro at work. So this guy could swim, fight, he could be a star archer, gymnastics, you name it. This guy would make the front of a dozen Wheatie boxes. He was a unique physical specimen. So who better to have interaction with him than Dr. Crusher? She would monitor his vitals, determine just how the aliens pulled off their wondrous physical talents. So, as it happens in many Star Trek tales, as we all know, the Minions are going through an intense political climate, with our hero smack dab in the middle. It's not such a removed premise from reality, because when you look at Earth's own global workings with how politics can interfere with athletics. Look at what happened with COVID 19. Remember, the Olympics were being held in China, and there was a lot of people saying you shouldn't go, you should boycott. These athletes, they trained for years, so they were caught in the middle between yearning to compete and fulfill that destiny and not wanting to become a political football for their nation to toss around and score geopolitical points. So, guys, my unproduced Next Generation teleplay is but one of scores of other Star Trek stories which never seen the light of day. It's amazing that Dr. Beverly Crusher never got as much shrift as the others. And so that would have been another episode for her. But it would be really cool to see maybe these unproduced works in maybe a book. Maybe a publisher could publish a book, chronicle the evolution and all the various scripts and pitches that never made it, right? It would be cool. What do you think? Give us your feedback. Give us your thoughts. Hope you're enjoying. Hope you're subscribing. See you soon.